The biggest challenge is making sure that secrets do not end up being publicly exposed. But then it also comes to rotating the secrets, making sure that the right people have the right access.
Why not use cloud native?
To give you a sense of scale, we have involved more than 2 million secrets. I think 4 to 500,000 requests a minute. You will end up paying a lot. There's not a cloud native tool that you can use that facilitates access from bare metal to AWS to GCP.
So I guess you bring it back to the whole conversation that having something like a standardized secret management tool which works across your bare metal, on-prem, cloud, everything makes it a lot more easier.
And I think this is where a tool like HashiCorp Vault acts like a bridge of communication, which makes it easier.
Secret management is a complex topic, especially if you work in an organization which has bare metal, hybrid cloud, public cloud, private cloud, and probably a lot more different kind of complexities that are running in your organization. I had the opportunity to talk to Dan Popescu from Booking.com, where he spoke about the challenges of deploying a secret management software, which is agnostic, and the choices you have to make for why not a cloud native solution versus going for a cloud agnostic solution. What are some of the trade-offs for doing secrets in on-premise versus cloud, and how the connectivity would work, and what are some of the good places to start? The conversation was about the project that he did across Booking.com for standardizing secret management, and this was recorded at HashiDays London 2025. If you know someone who's in a fast-moving, complex environment trying to do secret management at scale, I would definitely check this episode out and definitely share this with anyone you know who's probably solving the same problem as well. Now, if you have been listening or watching a Cloud Security podcast episode for some time, and if you have been finding them valuable, I would definitely appreciate if you take a second to just hit the follow, subscribe button. If you are watching this on LinkedIn or YouTube, but if you're listening to this on Apple, Spotify, definitely give us a subscribe, follow there as well. I really appreciate the support, and I hope you enjoy this episode with Dan, and I'll talk to you soon. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Cloud Security Podcast. Today we are at HashiDays London. I've got Dan. Welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. Nice to be here, and thank you for the invite.
Awesome. Maybe to start off with, if you can tell us a bit about yourself, what you've been up to, and what's your background in tech?
Sure. Hi, I'm Dan. I've been working in the past 7 to 12 years in large corporations, mainly dealing with like very large infrastructure across clouds. So I have experience with AWS, a bit with GCP, Azure, and more recently in Booking.com with bare metal
Yeah.
and managing Vault. And yeah, I've been doing work, DevOps work, monitoring, automations of the development.
Quite a mixed skill.
A bit of a few things from each kind of.
Fair. And today we are talking about the whole secret management thing, which is your topic here at HashiDays as well. In terms of secret management, what are, maybe if you describe, because a lot of people may think that secret management is just like username and password, right? What's complicated about secret management in a large, complex environment?
The biggest challenge is making sure that secrets do not end up being publicly exposed. But then it also comes to rotating the secrets, making sure that the right people have the right access. So authentication, authorization, policies, what can you access, different, if we talk specifically about Vault, it's making sure that you have different secrets engines. I'm a personal believer that you should not have static secrets. Always go with dynamic whenever possible, of course.
Yeah.
In an ideal world, everything would have a short TTL and they are rotated frequently, but in practice, things are more complicated than that. But yeah, so in Booking, we try to now push this dynamic secret everywhere, like from databases to the cloud, to AWS, to GCP, we have a mixed, like a very large hybrid environment, because Booking has a really large bare metal footprint.
Yep.
Now they've extended to the cloud. So we have a multi-cloud, let's say, environment. We also have private cloud. So it's a bit of VMs. And so it's a bit of a hybrid large environment.
Yeah.
Vault somehow sits right in the middle because there's no kind of direct native integration between all these cloud providers and our bare metal. So Vault deals with, basically it's a broker for authentication and authorization.
But I guess to your point about you've come from a full cloud world as well.
Yeah.
You're in a mixed cloud world.
Yeah.
And I've been drinking the AWS cooler for a long time as well, as I was telling you before. And once I think the realization when you start going to multi-cloud and hybrid cloud and the secret management, one of the conversations that I've ended up having with a lot of people has been around, why not use cloud native? Like, I think because it's all integrated, it works with all the air services from AWS, Azure, Google Cloud.
So yeah, I hear this a lot as well. So to give you a sense of, it all depends on scale and numbers.
Yeah.
Because as we know, in public cloud, you're paid for storing secrets, for retrieving. So to give you a sense of scale, we have involved more than 2 million secrets. Then these are just static secrets.
Yeah.
I'm not talking about dynamic secrets for engines for different databases or such. And then we have, I think, 4 to 500,000 requests a minute.
Wow. Okay.
Spikes that. So I'll let you calculate how much this would.
So at that scale, do you reckon the cloud native ones basically
Yes,
don't perform well?
they do.
Okay.
Problem is that you will end up paying a lot.
It costs a lot more.
Yes, it costs. Like, there's we can do caching and stuff, but there's no really, like, when it comes to these large numbers, and also making sure that cross cloud providers, you have
Yeah.
the same kind of toolings,
Yeah.
and the same access.
Yeah.
There's not a cloud native tool that you can use that facilitates access from bare metal to AWS to GCP to AliCloud to OpenStack. So it's
Yeah. Oh, actually, to your point, and I guess maybe I'll bring this up again then. From a secret management perspective, it's not just username password now, right? Because in a library cloud, what else? What would be other kind of secrets? Because a lot of people would think, I have one password. Would that
well,
or
most of the time you do, but there are certificates. So there are
access keys, secret.
Yeah, exactly. There are like all these cloud providers. They have, like, for example, there is the AWS Secrets Engine, which is
Yeah.
available in Vault, or the GCP Secrets Engine. So there's granting short-lived tokens that apps can use to interact with clouds, right? And there's also vice versa. So you have a cloud provider and you want to access internal network, physical network.
Actually, yeah, okay. There's the other way. So
There's that, or cross clouds. So how do you go from an app that lives in AWS to accessing GCP to accessing OpenStack, our internal bare metal infrastructure? You gotta have something in the middle that
agnostic.
Yeah,
Agnostic as well.
yeah. So something that allows you to do these operations.
Maybe considering you've done the secret management part across cloud and bare metal, what's a good place to start doing secret management? Because I think I guess there's obviously, that's me assuming that no one has done any secret management, which is never true for any organization. Everyone does some kind of it. In terms of, I guess, starting to clean it up and become more cloud agnostic or vendor agnostic, for lack of a better word.
I think it also depends on the company, right? When you start small,
Yeah,
you should always use what's fastest, what's really like the best way to get a product to market, let's say. But I kind of arrived always in large corporations where they have this really huge infrastructure and bridge the communication between them. So I would say in the beginning, it's probably best to go with, if you're just in AWS, with AWS Secrets Manager.
Yeah.
But then when you start like scaling, and some companies just live in cloud.
Yeah.
So there is no kind of bare metal footprint or other cloud that they need to interact with. So there's no really a way to do things differently. You can, in theory, deploy on EC2's Vault or whatnot, but I guess it's more comfortable to just use the cloud solution and also be aware of the costs, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Because we have such a large infrastructure, I guess teams do not really care how many secrets do they store, because the licensing costs aren't on the number of secrets.
Yeah. Yeah.
So or the number of requests,
Yeah.
which is really critical to the whole concept of managing secrets. But if you have a few apps or even a large infrastructure but few secrets, I think it's best to go native.
And maybe the next part of it, the whole lifecycle management part as well, then for secrets you mentioned, if you identify a secret has been exposed on the internet, I think we saw the example, which is pretty common, where people leave secrets in GitHub and collaborate with as well. The lifecycle management of it becomes quite challenging as well, I imagine.
Well, it depends on the secrets, right? If it comes to tokens, for example, if you're using something that generates a short-lived token, you can just refresh it, right? Yeah. For some it's difficult to revoke them.
Okay.
Unless there is a list or somewhere an identification within the secrets engine that tells you, oh, this secret that has been exposed matches this list. You can just revoke the list, which can be Vault. For certificates, if you have, I can talk about Vault, right? Vault has PKI, which allows you to rotate certificates. Of course, if your root certificate gets, you have to get problems, but you should never keep your root certificate. You should keep it in an actual Vault or somewhere.
Yeah, fair.
But if we're talking about intermediate certificates or app certificates, those can be rotated pretty easily. And I think the most difficult part is like rotating static secrets in case they are cached in the apps or not. So, for example, it's easy to rotate the secret in the source of truth, like a secrets manager or a vault. But then if it's not refreshed automatically in the when it is used on the apps, then that can be challenging.
I would love to also ask about the bare metal side of things. What's secret management like in bare metal? Because I think some people obviously have a lot of experience in mixed environments, but a lot of people, to what you said, have always only worked in cloud. What's the challenges with secret management in a bare metal?
So, as with clouds, your application will, let's say, it runs on Azure VM or an EC2, or you'll have some sort of identity that can authenticate against the local IAM provider and obtain access, right? With bare metal, you still need a source of truth. You still need to say, okay, this machine is a physical machine with this role, has access to this specific role, let's say in Vault, and has access to these paths. So, first of all, making sure that when you boost up the actual bare metal machine, everything is configured. That is one thing. Which usually is done with Pixie boot, like Kickstarter script and things like this. In cloud, you would do with Cloud Init. So that's pretty standardized. And for bare metal specifically, because Vault is like it, actually a lot of applications within the bare metal machine depends that Vault is up and running, the Vault client, the Vault agent. It needs to be just before the machine is bootstrapped. It needs to be configured and ensuring that machine properly has access before, let's say, you come up with the configuration management tool like Ansible or Puppet or Chef or whatnot. Because most of the times, these will also depend on some sort of secrets to configure, I don't know, an agent for monitoring tool or so on. So and then the problem, because if that machine does not have proper identity, how do you identify if this Pixie boot machine with this IP should have this role, right? So you need some sort of service directory or inventory management solution to identify that this machine can actually access specific.
But what if Vault was not there? What would be the challenge? I was kind of coming more from what you said about cloud. No matter what service you use, you have an integration to, whether it's a secret manager or Vault or whatever. Whereas my understanding of the bare metal space is more like it's like each one of it is like an individual box, and you can somehow draw a thread from each one of them for some kind of commonality. Are there challenges like that with the complexity of secrets?
Most of the times, if we are talking about bare metal, you would have some sort of layer that manages the machines themselves, right? But if we don't have that layer, you need something on the machine itself to identify the machine, right? It could be the IP address, the MAC address, the host name, something that is configured right when the machine starts, and then you can identify the machine on that. So, for example, what I've done in the past is that I've used to run Puppet masterless on the bare metal machine. So it used to take all the Puppet configuration, run it locally. This configured a bunch of facts, so some static metadata based on the machine IP, hostname, and so on. And then we could identify that machine as being
live.
But usually, but this is, let's say, it's not the most secure way because, things can happen. A lot of times we used to have a certificate management, something that generates a certificate for this machine. And so you still need the mechanism to.
So I guess you bring it back to the whole conversation that having something like a standardized secret management tool which works across your bare metal, on-prem, cloud, everything. Kind of like the standardized approach makes it a lot more easier to automate and scale and do the lifecycle management as well.
And what is nice is that, for example, in Vault specifically, you have all this integration like AWS authentication, which specifically ties to the instance profile of your EC2, and then it goes to the STS API and verifies your machine or signature of the, it's called a SIG4, I think. So it's very easy to integrate authentication with Vault from AWS, but then the same with GCP or other cloud providers. So then once you have this easy way of authenticating into Vault, then it's just about Vault. You manage Vault to give access, cross cloud access or cross role access. And it makes it easier. And for Vault specifically, we use Terraform to configure it. So then you have a state. If things go wrong, if somebody drops some policies, you can just rerun it and configure it.
And because, again, it's an open source version as well. So it's not that people have to pay money for it. They don't want you, they don't have to go to.
We have the enterprise solution, but the difference is like you can do Vault. And I've seen actually in a previous company that they used open source Vault, but they had like individual Vault nodes deployed across multiple regions. And then each Vault node had the same configuration. So then it's just a matter of conveying the same configuration to all of them. And once you have a layer of making sure that, let's say, the authentication goes to the right node, then you can do this fairly easily.
That's another point that I wanted to call out as well, because you mentioned cost earlier about, hey, it becomes quite costly to use cloud native solutions. And I think the funny thing in all of this is also the fact that there are open source versions that you can start off with to know, hey, is this the right version for me to start working with? And is this the right step forward? Because another thing that comes to mind is also the whole virtual machine world. The Kubernetes workload is what I was saying with, because these days most people are going with container workloads. Containerization is still a lot popular than virtual machines. How is secret management different in the container Kubernetes world compared to a regular virtual machine?
Most of the times, those nodes that run the Kubernetes cluster needs some sort of secret. They need to authenticate. So you still need something for that. But when it comes to containers, for example, in Booking, we wrote our own custom stuff. Before there was like a secrets operator, or I think Vault used to have what is called a secrets agent injector.
Kubernetes has secret manager as well. They have
I've actually used the open source version in the past, and it worked fairly easily. The only problem was that it's difficult to use that. I don't remember what was the name, but it was difficult to use. I think it's Secrets Manager.
Secrets Manager.
The problem with that is if you have clusters which are shared across teams, then it's difficult to split responsibility. Because how it used to work, as far as I remember, you used to create a CRD in your namespace. It used to fetch the secret, but then the problem becomes if that controller runs on the cluster, then it has access everywhere. Itself.
And I think all your pods have access to it as well, I think.
So how we dealt it in the past, when I used to actually manage Kubernetes cluster, we would, because they were fairly cheap in AWS, the control plane, EKS, we would just shard by clusters. Basically, this is a group of teams, they own these projects, they have a cluster. 5 machines, 10 machines, 100 machines. So then we would have over 100 clusters, and then we really didn't care about.
Because individually each team would have their secrets in that one cluster. That doesn't.
And they have their responsibility of making sure. And each cluster had their own secrets operator. But now with I know HashiCorp, and this is one project that we are looking into as well. They offered I think it's called Vault Operator. So this is the new thing that actually helps you fetching secrets in the actual namespace. But something around those lines. Us, at the moment, we have a custom solution that basically runs a sidecar, a Vault sidecar, which is secrets. There are some issues here because it runs in every pod, which means that if you have 1,000 pods, it means 1,000 kind of authentication to Vault. The same fetching of the secrets. But it works so far, and we are planning to go.
Fair. And would you say, talking about dynamic and static secrets as well, what's the challenge with moving from static to dynamic secrets in terms of the application side?
That's the problem. So you first usually what you would do is to have some sort of caching layer, either on the app or somewhere close to the app. So in case, let's say, the connectivity between the app and the Vault, or like your secrets manager goes down, you have a local cache. So you probably cache the secrets on disk. Now, if you don't have a refresh mechanism that, let's say, watches the file system events, when the secret is updated or such, then your app wouldn't know if that secret has changed or not. So it would still use the old credentials. Because our secrets or our dynamic secrets have 1 hour, usually DTL or less, so they change frequently. All the apps have clients. They watch when these secrets change and they refresh it from disk. So you need to have a refresh mechanism. With static secrets, you keep it for years and you never care. So I think that's the biggest challenge, because you have apps in Python, Perl, Java, whatnot. You got to.
So you would need to work with the application team to make that it's almost like we need to be a sync between hey, if we're saying as an organization that, I don't know, half an hour is the time that we're going to sync our new secrets, then every application that's basically adopting that has to make code changes, whether it's in cache or not in cache, that they have that sync that happens with whatever the secret management solution is.
Or you can have your own mini API that lives locally. Your app only interacts with that no matter the app code. You would do some HTTP calling, and then the daemon itself would making sure that the secrets are there and so on. So it's somehow like a middle layer between Vault Agent and your internal apps, because you still need authentication, authorization of the apps. So you will have, in our case, apps that want to use the Vault API, they call directly the agent locally.
So I was also going to talk about machine users as well. So obviously we're talking about me, Ashish, as a user. Maybe I'm doing federation and I get login, I use my secret manager, Vault or whatever. But these days, it's not just my employee who has secrets. It's my machine users who also have secrets, like your IAM roles and other things as well. How does this dynamic change everything we spoke about in terms of machine users for on-premise, bare metal, cloud? Well, how does that change for machine users?
For bare metal, you need to have some sort of authorization, like IAM developed solution that gives an identity to the machine. For cloud, we mentioned you pretty much have an IAM role attached to your, and the same for, I would say the same for Kubernetes if it's non-cloud. For AKS, for example, in AWS, I remember we used to use Kube2Yum or something, was something that you would annotate the pod and it would get an identity.
They have pod identity now.
As well. But on bare metal, you would still need something to. Right now, I think there is, for if you deploy Kubernetes on bare metal, there are tools to do that. So you still need some sort of identity for machines. So then, okay, this machine has this role or whatnot. Again, sometimes this comes down to having some sort of local metadata on the machine. I've seen this a lot, facts or whatnot, or like a local file that has some metadata in it, which is provisioned which is written when the machine is provisioned. Because whatever, let's say you have your data center, you still have some sort of IP, MAC, whatever, you can identify somehow the machine itself.
And to your point, as long as you couple that with your machines are rotating more often, that basically you have dynamic secrets, you have dynamic host boxes, so IP is dynamic as well. You get, I guess, to your point, you get to more secure posture as you keep adding more dynamic layers. And
for example, in Booking, we have some custom tools that when you provision the machine gives you metadata on it. So basically, because we are using Puppet a lot, Puppet needs to know, first of all, does this machine is who
it says.
So what we do is that we use what is called the ANC provider in Puppet. Basically, you use that source as a source of truth, and then Puppet relies on it to making sure that, okay, this machine actually has this role, this host name, this IP. So this is how we basically identify the actual bare metal machine.
Okay, and I guess your point with the machine user part. Would that be any different, or how would you still treat them as a regular employee user with secrets?
Usually no. It should have some sort of token or whatnot, something that identifies it. But it should have a different kind of, because most of the times, for example, in our case, or like from what I've seen in other companies, is that machines usually read.
That's right.
Apps read, and then humans write.
That's right. You're right. Machines rarely write something.
There are occasions, but because we've opened up some APIs from Vault with internal teams, and we saw them like killing Vault because they forgot they had a bug or whatnot. But with specific use cases, there was an app that was writing a lot of secrets somewhere, doesn't matter, but it was a specific use case for this app. But usually it's like there's a team, you need to access, I don't know, GitLab, whatever. You need to access some part of the infrastructure, and you would have a secret for that. If it's static, then you can write it. If it's dynamic, then you don't need writing in the first place, because it will be based on a role or something in the backend that
So would you say then, to make this, I think maybe, because a lot of people may listen to this and go, okay, I probably need to do some kind of standardization for secret management across the board. How do you look for a good starting point to look at secret management as a, hey, these are the kind of projects that are good ones? Or Should you start doing that in cloud first and then move to bare metal? What's your recommendation for people starting secret management and that they want to standardize across the board, static, then dynamic, whatever? What's a good place to start?
So I assume that when you start, you have maybe one environment. It lives somewhere in a specific, like either cloud or bare metal or not. So then you should start with whatever is again
Available, yeah.
whatever is easiest.
But let's assume complex one, like an enterprise one.
Well, it depends on what access you need. Do you need bare metal to cloud or both ways? Do you need cloud
Right.
bare metal?
Or would you look at that first, or would you look at, hey, considering cloud already has some native stuff in there in terms of code native, there's a lot of APIs that I can use. Are those easier to standardize with a secret manager than?
Okay, if you have bare metal, I wouldn't say so.
Oh, really?
If you have a mixture between bare metal and public cloud, the bare metal needs to access the cloud.
That's right. Yes.
So most of the times, let's say you start in the cloud and then you move to bare metal,
Yeah.
you would still need both communications, and the other way around.
Yeah,
Start in
yeah.
bare metal and then you migrate to the cloud. You still need them because what happens is like you have an app that lives in bare metal.
Yeah.
Now that team does not want to write a whole new app to move to the cloud.
Yeah.
So usually you would need to have some
network
sort of standardized tools. So for the team, the dev team does not matter for them if they live in bare metal or cloud.
Yeah.
And I think this is where a tool like HashiCorp Vault there acts like a bridge of communication, which makes it easier. Like, for example, I've seen teams, large teams, that instead of going in AWS with cross-account trust in IAM, for example, you're in one project A and you want to access some roles in project B, on database or this, they actually go through Vault instead of going through the native solution, because managing IAM trust account at scale, it's fairly
quite complex.
Yeah, when it's some sort of Terraform, you need to write all these policies, you need to run it frequently, while with Vault, you onboard it to Vault, your role, and then the whole configuration is done in Vault.
Okay, awesome. I think so for people who are walking this journey, in terms of understanding, was there any gotchas as you have done this across the board? Was this any learnings that you want to share with people that, hey, watch out for these kind of things?
There are things specific to Vault that I would say. For example, avoid as much as possible APP role authentication.
Okay.
Because if you're using a multi-region setup, then the problem, if you try to authenticate against a PR secondary, let's say, then there could be replication delay between the primary and the secondary. And we have actually encountered this, but of course, this happens at scale.
Yeah.
So probably if you start small, I would say start small.
Yeah.
This is the first thing. Start small. Do some sort of capacity planning, like to understand, okay, where are we planning to be in 5-10 years? Maybe think like, let's say 1-2 years.
Yeah.
And then based on that, come up with some numbers. And then I guess price plays a lot of
role in that. Yeah.
Whatever solution you choose or so on, it could be cheaper to go with the cloud solution if you have, I don't know, a small number of things. Or you say, I don't need the enterprise solution from whatever secrets management tool, because there are others, by the way. So I've in the past worked with others. I would say, and of course, with time, you would still have technical debt and stuff.
Yep.
I think this is unavoidable.
Yeah.
At some point, you will still, we made this decision, and then now we gotta write. And actually, a lot of times, this is what happens in my team. There were some decisions taken in the past which worked back then, which were okay. The scale was manageable, everything worked. But now, 5 years after, we gotta redesign this part or rewrite this thing. So yeah, I think it's learn across as time goes and try to iterate,
sounds awesome.
And the depth, how we call it, the technical depth is always
that doesn't end.
Yeah.
So that's most of the technical questions I've had. I've got 3 fun questions for you as well. First one being, what do you spend most of your time on when you're not trying to solve the SRE problems of the world?
Oh, interesting. Actually, I develop my own stuff. I used to play a lot of games, but now I mostly replace that with write Flutter. Flutter?
Yeah.
And Dart.
Okay.
So I'm writing my own. It's still a playground, let's say. But I've evolved into writing this mobile app, which has a Go backend and a bunch of kind of databases and search engines and stuff that I'm not able to use at work.
Oh, okay.
So it's like my hobby.
Fair.
And besides this, spending time with the family.
Yeah, fair. Yeah. And maybe that's a good segue to my next question. What is something that you're proud of that is not on your social media?
On my social media.
Yeah, that is not on your social media.
Oh, this is a very tricky question. Work related or
Could be anything. Could be work related.
my child? But she is also like that.
She's there as well. Fair. That's a good answer. Yeah, I'm sure. Maybe we'll play this to her as well, so she knows that you actually called her.
Yeah. Don't think about this direct answer.
Yeah. Final question: what's your favorite cuisine or restaurant that you can share with us?
Oh, interesting. Me and my wife we are both foodies.
Oh,
So what we do, we live in the Netherlands. We travel a lot in Belgium or France. When we go to this kind, or even in the Netherlands, we go to like Michelin restaurants. Yeah, go to with the experience with multi-course and stuff. Yeah, we actually do it fairly frequently. So we are foodies, but I would say favorite food. I like sushi a lot. I like vegan a lot.
Yeah.
I like So there's a lot of
you're a true foodie. You like all of it.
It tastes good. Yeah.
But if you had to pick one, what's your
I don't know if it's a specific cuisine or I like this kind of multi-course experience.
Oh,
and we
like that.
gotta taste a lot of different
flavors and
flavors. Yeah, and like it surprises you. It's a small thing, then it tastes. Oh my god!
No, that's interesting. The cuisine itself could be only Michelin star cuisine.
Yeah. And by the way, I've been to like Michelin star restaurants, which were like very like a small family restaurant. Yeah, in Belgium, and, nested in a forest or not. It's very like the whole thing is.
Okay, I'll add that to my list as well. But that's most of the questions I had. Where can people find you to talk more about the stuff you're doing and talks as well?
I guess LinkedIn.
Exactly.
Yeah. I do have Facebook, but this is mostly family. I don't.
Yeah, fair. I'll put the LinkedIn one only.
LinkedIn and
Okay.
And I have Twitter, but I don't use it. I just follow people.
I think most people don't use Twitter anymore. It just basically goes and just go, okay, whatever's happening in the world, it's going on fire, so that's okay. But dude, thanks so much for coming in.
Thank you so much for inviting me, and
thank you so much. Thanks everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next time. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for listening and watching this episode of Cloud Security Podcast. If you've been enjoying content like this, you can find more episodes like these on www.cloudsecuritypodcast.tv. We are also publishing these episodes on social media as well, so you can definitely find these episodes there. Oh, by the way, just in case there was interest in learning about AI cybersecurity, we also have a sister podcast called AI Cybersecurity Podcast, which may be of interest as well. I'll leave the links in the description for you to check them out. And also for our weekly newsletter, where we do in-depth analysis of different topics within cloud security, ranging from identity, endpoint, all the way up to what is the CNAP or whatever a new acronym that comes out tomorrow. Thank you so much for supporting, listening, and watching. I'll see you next time.